Thank you for your patience tonight as we're getting started. Excited to be here with you all and excited to be sharing with you some of the lessons that we've learned as part of Texas REIAs. So welcome everyone to the Texas REIAs meeting. We meet every single Tuesday. You guys are all part of our live audience, so thank you all for joining us tonight. And we're going to go through a lot of what we call tribal knowledge as we go through the presentation, just to teach you guys what we've learned over the last almost 2 decades of investing in real estate in both good markets, bad markets, different interest rates, different presidents, different economic situations, different health situations, but all here in Texas. So we're going to teach you what we learned in terms of surviving all of the different headwinds, all of the different uncertainties, and how you can best do that as a real estate investor in order to succeed, again, no matter what the market throws at you. So we meet every Tuesday and Thursday as part of Texas REIAs. We meet in Austin, Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. So we get together with other real estate investors, both experienced investors as well as new investors. We talk about the different strategies that we've been using to work through all of the different market challenges. In every market there's a challenge. You just have to be creative enough to be able to find that solution. Love to have all of you guys join us on our socials. Every single week we post something different in terms of building your knowledge as a real estate investor. Every week we post what we call a tip of the week. So tonight I'm going to share one. We also have a group Facebook page. So people are always asking us, where do I find a great realtor? Where do I find a great contractor? Where do I find a great deal? Where do I find a great funding? That's why when you guys were checking in, for those of you all who are live with us, we asked you to join on our socials. That way we're not taking individual messages from you guys. You can just access it 24/7. Very active Facebook page that we have as part of Texas REIAs. We also have several YouTube channels, so love to have you guys join us on those as well. As part of our YouTube channels, you can watch our Houses Flipping People show, which is the story of Texas REIAs members as they transition from full-time employees, maybe working for someone else, to full-time real estate investors and some of their different success stories. And then we also have the recordings of all of our private meetings, our former meetings, previous meetings on the Texas REIAs Facebook page. So love to have you guys join us on that. Love to have you guys access all of the tools and resources that we have there as well. And as we get together every single month, we talk about the different things that are going on in the marketplace, what we are actively seeing. We are in very much a changing marketplace caused by the government. So when the government decides to make some large rate hikes, in some cases we see the stock market being affected instantaneously. In some cases we see the real estate market also being affected, although not as instantaneously, but we are seeing some effects of that real estate interest rate, or pardon me, that interest rate rise as it affects us as real estate investors. So excited to be able to share what that looks like for you when we look at the forecast, what it's going to be going forward in terms of the number of sales, in terms of average price, etc. And also want to make sure that you have access to all of the basics that you'll need to know as a real estate investor. That specifically includes our contract that we use. So that is what we call the TREC contract. TREC stands for the Texas Real Estate Commission. What I love about this contract, it is impartial to the buyer, it is impartial to the seller, and it also prevents any lawsuits that might come up as part of a real estate transaction. It gets updated about every 1 to 2 years, and it's always updated based on whatever court law, case law comes out of any issues or arguments between buyers and sellers. So highly recommend that you all use that contract. Here's the other thing I'll tell you. Another investor has a property that they're looking to sell. It's a $4.2 million property. They sent me the contract and they said, Shenoah, can you review this contract for me? And first off, I'll tell you guys, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a financial planner. I am a licensed realtor and broker. And as soon as I opened up the PDF of the contract, it was not a TREC contract. And I'm like, why aren't you using the TREC contract? And they're like, well, you know, this is a commercial transaction. No worries. TREC has contracts for commercial properties, contracts for condos, contracts for new construction, contracts for resale construction, raw land, farm and ranch, all of the unimproved property, farm and ranch, all of those different kinds of contracts. Why aren't you using the commercial version of this contract, or even the TAR contract? And he's like, well, this is what the buyer wants to use. And he's like, well, will you review it for me? And I said, I don't even have to open it to tell you that it's leaned towards who? This is the interactive part. I can hear you breathing out there. It's not just the air conditioning that's going on here. In fact, Yvette, would you ask John to see if he could turn off the air conditioning system? And I promise it won't get too hot in here, but if it does, we'll turn it right back on. But you said it right. Is that Jose? Jose said it's slanted towards the buyer. So there are several different sections on there where you can tell when it's slanted towards one party or another. The one big section is what's called the default section. So in the default section of a normal TREC contract, it basically says, here's what happens if the seller defaults, here's what happens if the buyer defaults. So in their version of the contract, it had this huge line item section.
Would you like to be a real estate investor in Texas? Come to one of our free local meetings to get access to free training, wholesale properties, capital, and power teams. Click on the link below to find a meeting near you and register for free.
So that was our commercial for Texas REIAs. Apparently it auto plays now, so that's a new feature. But the consequences for the seller, if the seller didn't perform, was like a half a page long, and the consequences for the buyer, if the buyer didn't perform, was like this long, right? And one of the big things that it has in there on the TREC contract that you can sue for what's called specific performance. The buyer can sue the seller to specifically perform, i.e. follow through with the contract, and the seller can enforce or sue the buyer to be able to move forward. So it had taken out the seller's ability to sue the buyer just in case anything went wrong. It basically said, hey, if we default, the worst you can do is take our earnest money, right? Which was not insignificant, right? On a $4.2 million property, over $40,000. But still, guys, the TREC contracts, equally impartial, objective, tested in case law, no gotchas. I see a lot of brand new investors who use these 1 or 2 page real estate contracts, and it's like, and if you take that to a title company, they're going to kind of look at it and they're going to smile, because title companies are all very nice, and then they're going to go into the back room and they're going to talk to all the other escrow officers and basically say, look what this idiot brought in, right? Is that basically what they're going to say? Yeah. So I would say about 95 to 98% of closes actually are using either that TREC contract or that TAR contract, and that's what I would recommend for all of you guys. Now, some of you guys may tell me, well, Shenoah, come on, this thing is 11 pages long, like it's just too long. And I would say what would be longer than that is the lawsuit that you could get yourself into if you don't use this. So there's about, and I don't know the exact number, but I want to say like 85 different fields, maybe 100 different fields on this TREC contract. But I'm curious, how many of you guys played the Mad Libs game when you were kids? Like, you know what I'm talking about? So it's the thing that your parents gave to you before there were these and also iPads, right? So it's written Mad Lib style, so it has a blank, but it has context clues like a $ or a date, symbol, or a check box. So you will have to do some reading, but guys, don't get lazy about it. This is something that can either make or break you as a real estate investor, and it would be really important to me to see all of you made and none of you broken. So I just want to kind of go into a little bit of detail on that. Those contracts are accessible by anyone, so that includes all of you guys. Just go to the TREC website. You can just Google TREC, T-R-E-C. It stands for the Texas Real Estate Commission. It's available for everyone, so just want to make sure you guys are aware of that. One of the slides I had up just a few moments ago is what we call our real estate investor blueprint. So our real estate investor blueprint are the It's a list of basically the 272 different things that we've learned since we started investing almost 2 decades ago. For those of you guys who are here in person with us, we'll give you an opportunity to take one of those home tonight if you get registered with us for some additional training that we have as part of Texas REIAs to make you guys real estate investors much quicker than just coming to a meeting with us once a month, right? So I want to make sure you guys are here tonight to be able to take advantage of that. And also have on here listed many of the marketing strategies that I'll ask you guys to use as real estate investors. So I think a lot of people, as they're getting started, they are banging their heads against the wall. What that looks like is they'll go to a realtor and they'll ask the realtor, and I'll ask you guys, who's talking to a realtor and asking the realtor to bring me leads, to bring me deals? Probably a couple of you guys, So I will tell you that in the MLS last month, houses on average sold at about 105% of list price. So what that means is if the house was listed for $100,000, it sold for $105,000. Now I know there is no such beast listed at $100,000 in this market, but just so you can get the idea. So what I'm trying to explain to you is your deal is not on the MLS. Instead, it is off MLS. So what I find is the way that most new real estate investors go is, number one, they go to the realtor and they say, hey, bring me deals. And then they basically find out, well, the realtors don't have any deals, right? They're all regular retail. They get a little frustrated, and they might see a sign on the side of the road that says something like investors needed, to buy, wholesale deals. And then you go to that and you start working with the wholesaler. And what you find with the wholesaler is their after repair value, what the house will list for after it's done, is up here. But in reality, if you ask a realtor, it's really here, right? And then they'll give you a repair number that's called, I would call a make-ready repair number, which is basically if you use enough duct tape and super glue and Kills, and elbow grease, right? You'll be able to put that property back together from this and make it rentable, make it livable, but it's certainly not going to be a repair number that will get you to the ARV that they listed. So what a lot of investors start doing is like, well, the realtor thing didn't work for finding deals. The wholesaler route, it's a hit or miss. You may have to look at 50 to 100 deals before you find one, and each person who's coming to you and showing you a property, they're all marketing it the same way, and the way that they're marketing it is by using the noun or the verb deals, right? This is a deal. This is a deal, right? And to me, that noun means 70% of ARV minus repairs, which is one of the formulas that I've got listed here. To a wholesaler, that quote unquote deal, they use that term quite loosely. What does that mean? What does that mean? They may bring you a deal that's a 90% of ARV minus repairs, which basically is a property you can't make money off of, right? So I will tell you, be careful, and I will specifically, I'll point out the people that I really, really, really want to be careful. And there was a quote, I can't remember who said it, but it is, a fool and his money are soon parted. A fool and his money are soon parted, right? This happens in real estate all of the time. So the fools that are parted from their money are usually the people who worked really, really hard and saved up a lot of money and are investing in a deal with all of their own cash. So who are they getting to look over their shoulders to tell them whether or not it's a deal? No one. Does anybody in here want some free coaching, free advice on your deal? Should be everyone, right? Take your deal, even if you have cash, take your deal to a hard money lender. And if that hard money lender says, I'm not going to fund that deal, what have they told you? Not a good deal. You don't have a deal. Now, you also need what I call the hard money decoder ring. Sorry, I didn't mean to shoot everybody the middle finger. The hard money lender decoder ring, which is basically this. If they tell you, I'll fund this for you, but I need you to bring $50,000 to the closing table, what have they told you?
It's high risk.
It's high risk. It is also not a deal, right? And they want to risk shift to you. Now, not everyone has the hard money ring decoder, right? So some people will say, well, okay, well, I guess I got to bring my own money to the closing table. And then they do a bad deal. I don't want that to be any of you guys. I don't want any of you guys to be the poster child of a fool and his money are soon parted, right? So have someone with more experience than you looking over your deal. And I will tell you that there is a conflict of interest with a wholesaler who is both bringing you the deal, bringing you the analysis that supports the ARV, bringing you the analysis that supports the repairs, and is also only getting paid if you believe all of those things. So to eliminate that conflict of interest and to properly do your due diligence, you've got to bring in your own realtor, you've got to bring in your own contractor. So please protect yourselves out there. We are in a very changing market. Over the last probably 2 to 5 years, we have been in what I will call the most forgiving market we have ever been in. What does that mean? You have heard a lot of real estate investors say, well, the market saved me. What does that mean? I screwed this up really, really badly. It took a lot longer than I ever thought it would. But while I was sitting on this property for a year, even though I only thought I was going to have it for 3 to 6 months, prices increased and Jed's a millionaire, right? We have been in the most forgiving market we have ever been in. What kind of market do you think we're going in right now? A lot less forgiving. A lot less forgiving of mistakes, a lot less forgiving of errors, a lot less forgiving of surprises, right? Probably my least favorite quote when it comes to real estate investing after 20 years is this. My renovation project came in on time and on budget. Said no one, ever, right? Especially in this market, we're seeing this confluence of several different things. We're seeing prices go up for contractors. We're seeing prices go up for supply, and we're starting to see a little bit of price slowdown on the other side. The confluence of those things means you cannot make a mistake. We're going into a different market. You have to be more prepared. Now, I will tell you that the motivational part of this speech is officially over. And we're going to go on to the next part of the presentation. So for those of you guys who are joining us online, thanks for joining us. We're going to go through the market update in the next part of the presentation.